Okay, awesome. It's going. Alrighty. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today, Dad. I'm currently enrolled in a leadership communication course at Hope this semester, and one of our primary focuses throughout the past 12 weeks has been to focus on becoming more of a leader in our community and with those around us. And so the topic of this week is to interview someone we look to as a leader mentor. And so I just really appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak with me. So yeah, thank you and welcome.
Well, Hannah, it's my pleasure. I know you interviewed Mom earlier for a class, and she enjoyed that. So I'm honored, and I'm going to answer the questions to the best of my ability and my experience. And thank you very much. You look pretty.
Thanks. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No, a half hour, it'll go quicker than you think. So if you need to change the topic or what have you, don't like a response, just fire away with the questions, okay?
Okay. So just to start off, again, we're talking about leadership in my family and home life, which this is obviously more of a private setting where people don't often get to look too closely into what goes on in our family. And so I just think this is a cool opportunity for my peers and my professor to learn more about your leadership style in our home and more about our family. So that being said, first question, was there a particular moment or experience that made you aware of your influence on your family or home? So if you could think about maybe like a specific moment or story that you'd like to share.
Oh my, that's a tough question. It's broad, and being a parent for 21 years to four children, there are moments every day where you have an opportunity to be a leader as a parent. You know, I when you lead in the business world, I think you lead in a different way. You lead with some subtlety and some psychology, and I think when you lead as a parent, you lead with love, and you really have to set a good example, and you have to make good decisions yourself to show your children how to make good decisions. And I can't think of a singular event or so forth, but I mean, in general, we as a family, your mom and I are the leaders, and we take on different roles. Your mom's certainly more of the faith-based, religious leader. As we have gone down that path, I'm been more of the career leader up until the business purchase a couple years ago. I just, and I think we just try to lead with ethics and integrity, and we have to be supportive and push and pull our children along. And I think the jury's still out but for the most part, we've raised four good children, four good young adults, and there are some moments that I'm proud of as a father and as a leader in the family, and there are moments that I wish I had a do-over. I don't think there's anything unique about that. I'm just being honest in that regard. One thing, if I may, is I like to give a little speech on an occasion, and I like to give credit to the people at the table who deserve the credit. And generally, that's your mom, my wife, Catherine, who is really fundamentally at the core of everything that we do and everything that we represent. I mean, she raised you while I was traveling and still travel, and I mean, I really try to set an example of how a husband and father and partner in a marriage and in a family should be. So sorry, but long-winded answer, but it's tough to pinpoint a single event. I go ahead. I'll save something for later. Sorry.
It's okay. If you think of a specific story, you can more than welcome to share it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to roll on to the next question here. As a leader, what keeps you motivated and invested to be a part, and to keep wanting to do better? Is there something that keeps you motivated to keep investing in leadership in your family?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to set a good example for your children. You want to show them the right way, how to make a good decision, how to live up to your word, how to be a person that stands behind their word, how to be a person that stands up for what they believe in. And, we like to practice what we preach. We don't like to be hypocritical about what we say to you and then what we do ourselves as parents. I mean, I have parents that they had their strengths and weaknesses as parents raising me, and those strengths and weaknesses, some of them have changed over the years as I've gotten older, and with them being parents, and some of their areas have improved and so forth. I guess the biggest thing as a parent, you want better and more for your child than you have, and we're blessed with a great life and with a lot of good fortune. We've worked hard and God's been good to us, and that's yielded some of the things that, when I was a kid, I never would have thought I would have been a part of or had for myself. But I just, we try to tell our kids, teach the four of you, don't take shortcuts, be nice to people, be polite, thank you, please. Those are important words. I mean, you just get a lot further with people by being nice and respectful than you will being any other way. So I think we just try to lead. I just try to show you the right way to handle situations, the right way to interact with people, and respecting people. Doesn't mean I always do the best job at it, but it's aspirational. I'm aspirational in the fact that I always want to show you guys the right way to do things.
So would you say that the motivation comes from wanting to set a good example for your children?
Oh, here we go. So there are so many times, and I mean, every good parent should have a sense of pride and feel good about their children. And, you gather that a lot from interactions with other adults, friends, other family members. And there are countless times over the years, and look, you and your brother and sisters are not perfect by any stretch, but there are times over the years where a friend or another family member that doesn't see us that much, or someone in a grocery store, or just someone randomly will say how well behaved your children are. Hannah, you've had instances where you've worked with customers at our studio and someone has said that young lady did such a nice job, or some of your other jobs, when you were a nanny, or when you worked at a restaurant or two, you've just had people they've complimented you back to your mom and I for the way that you handle yourself, conduct yourself. And that's really the ultimate compliment for a parent, is for someone outside of your family to point out to you that, that your child they had a positive experience with one of your children. I mean, that's very fulfilling, and that just makes me proud.
We love to hear that. Alrighty, let's see one of the questions that I came up with myself here. As a leader, it can either be it can be at home or at work. What leadership skill are you currently seeking to improve?
Patience, probably. I think I fight that one.
Could you
I
maybe
fight
talk
that.
about, could you maybe talk about that, like what patience looks like at home, but also maybe at work a little bit?
Yeah. So at work, it's simple. I've worked in my company for a long time, and I've got a team of people that that report to me, and I like to think of them as their peer and not their boss. But I need things from them and have requirements, and some of them don't move as quickly, and some of them the quality of the work is not as good, or the results aren't as good, and I get impatient around that. You can get the have the conversation with so and so and say, you remember a week ago when I told you this is what we really needed, and that that's I sometimes in a corporate setting, in the work setting, you forget how long it took you to get to a certain point, and you want the person that you want to get to a certain point to get there right away, and sometimes that's tough. At home, especially with the pandemic, you're around the same people all the time, and we have a routine at home where your mom and I are generally working, and things need to get done to get the day going, or whatever,
Mhm.
and and I need to be more patient with your brother and sister uh, to get in that same pattern, that to fulfill some of the things that we need to be done on a daily basis. I mean, you know what I'm talking about:
Mhm.
dishwasher, just
Chores around the house.
stuff, tedious stuff that no one wants to do. I get impatient around that, and like if I'm working with your brother in the yard, and I want to get the yard work done, and he's just taking his time. His focus is not there to help me. His focus is to be elsewhere, and I get impatient with that. But you then at the then some you just need to take a step back, or I need to take a step back, and sometimes I find myself doing this better than others, or more than other times, is just take a step back and appreciate the moment, appreciate what you're doing and who you're doing it with, and think of the positive things about that person. um, think of the person, and that applies to both work and family. But to me, I want things quickly. Imagine that. I don't. I mean, I think society, we got so much information at our fingertips all the time. So you want problems to be solved right away. You want things to get fixed right away. You want answers right away. Patience is probably the biggest challenge.
Is there something that you tell yourself or like a practice that you do to work on that, developing that?
Uh, not as much as I should, probably, is what your brother would say. But um, you know, I think I'm better at that at work, and I don't mean that didn't. I don't hope that didn't sound bad, but why at work, um, I'm measured. I'm measured every year by a goal, and fortunately, I've been blessed with a team of people that help me achieve that goal year over year. And sometimes I have to tell myself to overlook something in the moment, to remember the past, or remember how someone's been there for me, that's maybe they're not there for me right now, but they always have come through in the past. You have to bring that type of perspective and thought into your mind. And at home, my best reminder is your mother. She's the one that tells me, and as she should, have some. And I think we actually do a pretty good job of telling each other when we need to have a little bit more patience with one of our four children. We usually do a pretty good job of balancing that out. And there have been some events lately in the past couple of days where we've had to tell each other, "Hey, come on, have a little patience. And it's generally, she's a good girl, Todd, or he's a good boy, Catherine. That's how that conversation starts and ends. At any rate.
So kind of going off of that, can you maybe think of a family member or mentor that inspired you to become a better leader? Maybe someone like from your past or even present now that influences you? Role model.
Well, I mean, I think from a parenting standpoint, your mom, I'd like to have more of her parenting skills, and that's just, I mean, I just think she has it down, not to a science, but to an art, and not perfectly, but really well. She just, I think she has a knack for doing and saying the right thing at the right time when one of her children needs to be picked up emotionally or boosted or whatever, or have some confidence reinstilled in them. I look up to your mother for that. Also from a father standpoint, my father-in-law, your grandfather, Papa Bolger, was a tremendous role model. I mean, the picture, you sent a couple pictures today that I'm not proud of the way I looked or my haircut back then, but unbeknownst to me, I was seeing a really good father on display with Jack. I mean, he was, to this day, to the extent that he can, because he's limited a little bit, in his capacities, but you just saw that guy got it, what it took to be a good father and a good leader in his household. Mm-hmm. Those are two people that, from a parenting standpoint, I look up to in terms of when I grow up as a parent, how I'd like to be a little bit more of.
Is there a leadership skill or maybe characteristics that you think he really embodies? Anything in particular that comes to mind?
I think that he's got unconditional, and I love my children unconditionally. I mean, I can't imagine not loving the four of you the way that I do. And I think Jack's got that I know Jack's got that for his children. But I think also what makes Jack and your mom be such good parents is their love for God, their belief in their faith. They're wanting to use faith in the way that Jack raised his kids, and the way your mom raises the four of you, is she does it, they do it with God, and God's at the center of that. And, I mean, I've done that too, I think, to an extent, not as well as they have, but I just think they have good values, good faith-based values that come through in their parenting. I mean, I'd like to think that, we've shown you right from wrong, and sometimes steer you to make a tough decision with God at the center of that decision.
Mm-hmm. So I know you mentioned a couple of times now that faith has played a role in leaders around you, but also like from your own leadership perspectives. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about your faith and how your journey, and maybe share a little bit about like how you became a Christian and how it influences your leadership in our family today?
Yeah, sure. So I was not raised in a home setting that where faith was required, where church was something was a part of your lifestyle and a part of your daily routine. We prayed for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter. I went to church with friends on those days. I and your mom, when we started to become friends and date each other in high school. So I was never raised in that way. My grandparents had that about them, but my parents never really did. And, um, when your mom and I started dating seriously, um, we had the discussions that, your mom needed to marry a Christian, and that's what she believed in, and that's what she will do. And, it's unfortunately a deal breaker. And I don't mean to say that in a rude way, but as in our probably in our earlier 20s or 24-ish, 25-ish, when we started really dating seriously as adults, we went to church. We had a good church. We had a good relationship with the people there, with some of the members, with the pastoral staff. I took some classes there. I got baptized there. In fact, I remember I got baptized on a Wednesday night in March of 1996, maybe March 13th. I got baptized and engaged all in the same night. And your Uncle John came to the city when your mom and I lived in the city separately. We lived in two different places, but went to church the same. And your brother John came down to witness the baptism, and he didn't know I was going to get engaged. I was going to ask his sister. So we got engaged that night, and then we took classes leading up to getting married, and I was genuinely building some faith and building some belief. It wasn't just to check the box so I could marry your mom, but so those beliefs were getting rooted in me. And then, after we got married, we got more involved in that church. We had children. You and your sister Grace were baptized there, and we were really a part of that church community with some programs. Soup kitchen programs, children's programs. That church was a part of our lives more than just a Sunday morning. And then when we moved to the suburbs, we looked to find a church, and we moved out here where we are now, and we did a tour of Lutheran churches in and around the area, and we stuck at Good Shepherd, and that was our church home. And really, I would say, we really dove into that church for about the first 7 or 8 years. I'd say we were there in terms of participation, engagement, Sunday school, small group, Christmas programs, volunteering, communion, greeters. I mean, we were a reliable resource at the church, and because we wanted to, and as that over that time, I got more confident in my ability to talk to other people outside of our family about faith. I've still got a couple friends to this day that at work that we've had those conversations, and I know where they stand, and they know where I stand. I've had some customers over the years that we've talked about faith with and what we believe in, and I've got some people that are Muslim, and we don't believe in the other's faith, if you will, but we respect it, and it doesn't make them a bad person just because, and conversely, I'm not a bad person in their eyes because, but, it's been for me, I was the person that got baptized at the age of 28 in front of a congregation. I got water sprinkled on me at that age. And usually you see that with in our church with the infants and the little ones. So it's different. But, and as you get older, there's a tendency, unfortunately, that you maybe grow away from not your faith so much, but your church and your practices and your routines. And that's happened. In the pandemic, it's really escalated that, unfortunately. But I mean, I we pray daily. Um, I know when I need to say a private prayer, or when I do say a private prayer, not just when I need to, but a prayer of thanksgiving, or a prayer for support, or a prayer for help, or a prayer for any one of the four children individually, or all of you collectively. I mean, that's still a part of my life, still
Mhm.
part of my daily routine. So, um,
I think I think it's important to note that faith changes throughout life, and their different seasons, and it's kind of like a roller coaster, and so I think that's okay. And I know, like, for our family, that faith has been something that was important to, like, the six of us as a family. But as we as your kids are growing older, and as you guys are growing older, it's harder to be together and to practice faith together. And so um I think, as a leader, as from past experiences, I think it's important to realize that you took, like, initiative, and you took great steps in leading your kids towards Jesus along with mom. So,
and I thank you. I think we're very proud of the fact that we're proud of all four of you. But in your case, Hannah, when not every kid, in fact, the majority of children, I would say, when they leave the house and go to college, they kind of leave their faith behind. And you went to Hope, and that was a sign right there that you weren't going to leave it behind. But I know that you've grown in it. I know you've had your times where you've questioned some things, but you know, at the end of the day and where you are now, I think your faith is really strong, and
mm,
you like your environment, and you like what Hope instills in you, what it stands for, and what it instills in you. And your
mhm,
mom and I are very proud of that. And there's a tendency when children go away to college to maybe think counter to the way they've been raised. They look at other opinions, they look at other points of view, and those are different than what you've been raised for the first 18 years of your life. So we're
mm,
very proud of you
thank
for sticking with your faith.
I think this year has been a little bit of a struggle, just being in the pandemic and not having chapel services or regular church service to go to. Um, I think, like, while the community here of, like, my house and my friends has been nice and uplifting, it is sometimes hard to experience that faith. And um, I do worry a little bit, like, in the future, moving away from Hope and knowing that I'm going to be a leader in my community, whether it be faith or professional, personal. I think that I fear that a little bit, but I'm confident that knowing that I have that experience from Hope and from family previously. So that's what gives me confidence. Um,
You've got to take your faith with you, and you've got to it's who you are, and you're not going to leave it behind when you leave Hope College. It'll
mhm.
go with you.
All right, we have one more question here. So, where is it? Okay. As your children are growing up, and your youngest two are now 17, leaving for college next year, and your oldest daughter, me, I'm graduating from college next year. Um, what is one lesson that you hope your children use in the future as a result of your um, teachings?
Well, it's not just one. Um,
Maybe your favorite one that comes to mind.
well, I want them to find a person that that there's mutual love and mutual respect for one another, that they view the other as a partner, as an equal, that they want to do everything that they can for that person, and that they realize that they can only do that with God and faith as a part of that recipe. And we just want all of you guys to be happy, all the four of you to be happy. That's really up to you how you arrive at that happiness, what steps you take, what endeavors you set out on, and so forth. And I'm confident you guys will all make good decisions, and there'll be an easier path, a little bit easier path, I think, if you have God sitting over your shoulder and going with you in your heart as you navigate. And I don't know that I'm answering this question well, but I mean, the simple thing is just be good people and treat people, and that goes without saying. But I really would like, I would like you, Hannah, and your sister Grace, and your brother Jack, and your little sister Selah. I'd like all of you to experience the love for a partner that I have for your mom, and that your mom has for me. That's what that would be perfect. Not perfect, but that would be ideal. I mean, if you can find that, and it doesn't mean, I mean, there are ups and downs. There are some days are better than others, right?
Oh yeah.
You see that. But if you can find a partner for life that you just know you're better because of them, and hopefully they're better because of you, that would be my most significant wish for all four of you. And sometimes you have to have patience to find that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. I'm living proof of that. What a good way to end this. Thank you for sharing that, Dad.
I hope your teacher doesn't get mad at me for saying this. I love you to death, Hannah. I am proud of you. You are doing really good things. I go to the Color Me Mine. I see that note that says, Mom, you're doing great things. And like that moment, I could have said that earlier in this interview, but that little moment, that I seen that little note, and I know that you wrote it. I know I did a good job of raising you. To have that in your heart, and for you to leave that for your mom, that is a proud father moment, proud dad moment. So, and God's, been a big part of that.
Mm.
So,
any final words before I stop the recording?
I better. Well, one, for your teacher, I hope Hannah gets a good grade. I hope she's earned a good grade. Maybe she hasn't had the best interviewee, but she works hard. She's a good girl. She's got good things in her heart, good intentions. Hannah, we'll see you soon. Your mom